check and just see which angles. Oh, this is not bad. So I'm using, hold on. Let's get this together. So on one side, I'm going to continue doing it this way. Hold on. Oh, I should have organized this first before sorting this out. So I like to be here. I'm like an early bird, right? That's what I'm known for. I'm pretty organized when it comes down to things. Okay. Today we are hajimemashite, as I would say in Japanese. Welcome in. Let me just want to put that like that. Hopefully that works. Okay. So I might be in my little studio space and I have all my little thingies over here and the painting that I did and the soundproofing that I've worked on. I wanted to talk about the fact, and since it is like I got I became unemployed because of the music school, not for my own wrongdoing, but simply because the company didn't understand that I mean, they should have known, right? They should have known that I studied at the Corcoran. The guy that created the Bach to Rock was actually the director at the Corcoran. So I don't think he was in charge. I don't think he would have. But because I make stuff and I used my creative skills to create something that nobody else was doing in the music school, they terminated me because I obviously scared them because they didn't know what was going on, first of all. And second of all, I just don't think they really understood my qualifications. They thought I just did music, and it's not just the case. So I think that partly, kind of like freaked them out a little bit. And then me creating something like this, right, that was for the time of the situation that happened in 2021, right? I don't like to say the word, but it all happened all at once. And that's how I lost my job, is that I actually made these things, that I made it by hand. So for them to freak out about somebody being able to sew and design things in a music school was just like beyond them. They didn't understand. So I let them get mad at me because they were kids and the kids had no idea what to do in case of an emergency. So I let them, do what they had to do, vent it out, and I walked off with a calm, responsive, relaxed, environmental mindset, because I really did think that, hi, welcome in. How are you doing? I'm just going through this unemployment thing because I want people to know. I saw that a lot of people were like, oh, the drama on one of the shorts, and I was like, no, that's the one that you're going to not be able to get the unemployment. The one that you're staying calm and you walk out without being, if the director or the manager starts yelling at you, you just have them have at you, because that is how you win the unemployment benefits. As somebody who's lived, my dad was a veteran. Okay, so you can imagine how strict our house was very, very strict. We had rules and regulations in that house all the time. So I learned to just keep my mouth shut. That's the one lesson we learned as Gen Xers, is I think it's important to realize that the lifestyle that happens on social media is not how it really is in real life. And in government, because I also worked in government, you want to make sure that you keep your ground by basically having proof of proof. I had proof. I was like, I got fired because I made masks, and they absolutely didn't understand. And I said, I lived in Japan, and this is just stuff that I learned how to do, and I sew and I make things, and I studied at the Corcoran. So I make stuff. I can't help the fact that I know how to make stuff. That was just like, they didn't get it. So sorry, I'm gonna put some music on now. I'm just trying to, like, I'm brainstorming where I am, and I'm like not I'm not thinking straight right now. I'm a piano. Give me 2 seconds. Why did that open there? I wanna open recent. That's what I want. And I think, I think when younger people think, like, I've had many jobs. You can go onto my platform, onto my websites, and I've built my websites. Welcome in. I love seeing people from overseas. I do. I've lived overseas myself. So for me to watch and see other people from overseas, I'm delighted. I'm delighted. So I have one screen, which is the landscape, and then the other side is the vertical. So I'm kind of, if you look at the other one, I'm actually on both, but I'm showing different variations, right? But yeah, I don't know if other countries have unemployment. All I know is the way you win unemployment is by having the director or the manager have at you, like, have them say what they have to say, because then they look bad. So in office environments, the same thing applies. The same thing applies because when you deal with managers and directors, they think that they have the seniority, and they do, because they sort of have that position, right? But when somebody comes along and they know a little bit more than the manager or the director, they actually freak out. So that was my experience, right? So that's what I had to go through. So today was just to talk about unemployment. But this is what I was teaching, music. So all this stuff that you see on my channel, the beginning playlists are actually music-related content. And then you move into the art and the fashion, which is where this comes in, right? And then next to that is, what did I have there? Next to the fashion, art and fashion. Then you have, like, the business section, and then there was another section, I can't remember what it was. It was business, art, fashion. I don't know what the last one is. So I have 3 that are set up, basically, which is important. But I want to make the young people, and I know the young people are over here more specifically, is that when you work in an office space in the United States, okay, when you start working, if you ever start working, if you start working and start moving out of the space of social media, you have to remember that social media is a different world. The real world, if you want to call it, as people say, the real world will not allow you to act up and behave and mistreat people, because now you're in front of staff. It's a different kind of situation. So if you do lose your job, for instance, I need to change that around. You want to make sure that you don't raise your voice. You don't yell at people. You don't argue. You just let them vent, because that is how you win money in the end for the unemployment. So I just want people to know, if I had never been fired in my entire life, because it was never a thing for me. I never had an issue. Usually I would walk out of the job if I thought, this is ridiculous, right? This is like redonkulous. I'm out, I'm walking out, and I'm leaving. That's how I would usually behave. But the job that I had, I actually enjoyed, because it was music. I was teaching kids. I was enjoying the students. So it was like kind of a little bit of a shock for me, but I also knew that they were teaching first aid, CPR, and all those things, but they forgot to teach general life skills. And sometimes when you've been in very difficult times and difficult places in your life, you know how to survive environments and situations. I remember when I was a kid in Japan, I lived in Japan, When I lived in Japan, they had lots of there's still lots of earthquakes, right? Japan is made off of volcanic land. So that land in Japan, everybody knows is Tokyo or Hokkaido or all the other places, Yokohama. All the places in Japan are people are living on a living, breathing Fujiyama, which is what it is a living, breathing volcano. So emergencies and situations happen in Japan a lot. And I'm so glad that I had that experience living in that environment because it taught me how to think about instant emergency situations. Usually, and one of the things that saved me from my leg was also the same thing, emergency situations, as I kind of froze, thought through what I needed to do to get to the next phase so I don't have a panic attack. And then move to the next plan of action. So if you lose your job, you don't yell at the manager or the director. It's just so when I saw everybody liking that whole short, I was like, you guys got it wrong. Why did you like the one that everybody was being she was being aggressive and talking back to the manager or the director? That's the one that you will not get payments for because now you lost your own case, right? So all of the stuff that happens on social media, this is just going back to the whole concept, everything that is taught to push videos out and interact with abrupt people is actually the exact opposite of how you live in normal life. If that were to happen in normal life situations, no, survival, hey guys, you would not make it. People would not make it. People would not make it because they wouldn't know how to react if something bad were to happen in front of them. So I think that's the most important thing, is to think about those kind of elements, right? Do I have it? Oh, yes. Does it? Good question. If you go to the other one, which is a landscape, yeah, I put these little things on. It's not a great. Thank you for checking. Honestly, it is not a great. The other mic is better. This is a lavalier. I have two. This is a lavalier. The other one is placed on my landscape. Thank you for checking. I do appreciate it. I was testing it out. I even asked Brandon. I was like, should I put this on? And he's like, yeah, go ahead and give it a try. So this one, now I've taken it off. Let's see if it makes a difference. Okay, this has been my question. I got this mic, and I have to say, this mic, I feel like this was an expense. I got this for $90, so I'm like, oh, this is cool, and it's portable, and it's Rhodes, and I was like, this is going to be a great mic. I stand corrected. Here, I'm going to take this off. Yeah, it does have a filter. It has this little fabric on it. But it doesn't sound good either. It's such a disaster. However, problem solved, because the other side, which is the one that I need that's more important, has the lavalier. The lavalier is much better. So comparison, this is a good comparison moment. If you compare this mic, which is not great, it's good quality, it's well made, right? But the sound, because it's Bluetooth, and the music kind of clash. This one, on the other hand, which is the one that I really started with on my channel, maintains. The only problem is this does not work with my phone because I upgraded the phone. So every time you upgrade, you have to always upgrade everything else. It's a disaster. I'm glad you checked. Thank you. But the other side, okay, this side is this is, I'm glad you, yeah, okay, so let's go back into the conversation. Unemployment. Okay, we're talking about unemployment today because I lost my job making something that was a lifesaver for me and for a few other people. I had friends who were in the medical field who were desperately looking for something that had layered MERV 13, which is what I created. I have pictures. I'll take them out later. But there are like 3 layers of filtration on here, right? And it worked for my friend who was in the medical field. At one point, it was like fine. And when I broke my leg, after I had gotten fired, funny story, I got fired, then I broke my leg. It's like literally a musician breaking a leg, break a leg. That's exactly what happened to me. Like, I don't think I've ever met anybody who actually fell for that, but that is what happened to me. So this mic is not the comparison. You can go into the other live, and this is a good mic, but this mic I cannot use on the phone anymore because the upgrade, I don't know, once I added the new Rode mic, it somehow clashed with this. So now I keep the old-fashioned, older versions of my equipment just with the landscape, which is fine. I just leave it alone. But yes, it has become a little bit of a problem. My personal opinion, I really don't recommend this mic. I don't. At this stage, I do not recommend this. I thought it was the most incredible idea. This I thought was great at first. And then I listened to the quality and I was like, this is not great. Because look at the music, the variation. So this is the motto of the story. Do not use a Bluetooth mic if you're recording music and you're trying to speak. I have a whole bunch of mics. But this is a good example of something that if you are a musician, I just don't recommend using it. I don't. This has turned out to be a complete disaster. Okay, so as I was saying, I have to go back to the conversation because I think I was slightly muffled. But the moral of the story is do not use social media as the real life format for jobs. Okay, jobs do not like people being touchy and giving a little bit of lip and attitude in an office space, because not only does that attitude get you fired, but if you're going to react and respond to your manager or director that way, you'll get fired, and then you won't be able to apply for unemployment because unemployment will not offer those kind of situations. Okay, let me just change this. I will go back and fix that eventually. I can hear that one section needs to be like reworked. Let's listen to the old one. Let's do this. So I have a whole bunch of music production things. I do work through these on my lives. If you're interested to see any of the music production things, feel free to check the old ones. I will eventually do another version, but I think on occasion it's important for me to kind of have conversations. So today's like a talk day, right? This is like a day 2 to have a conversation. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, I tested it out, and we've established that it was just not. How do you do a crossfader? Do you have a sound filter? Yeah. As I said, I think this was a mistake. I tested it out and I established that this is not, I'm not going to say what this is. I think if you do production or film, you probably know what this is called. This is the piece that you add on to a mic, right? But I think it muffled it even more than it really needed to, right? So that was like the problem. Okay. So going back into the whole thing of work. So I ended up getting unemployment first try. I applied. I read the directions. People don't read instructions very well. I've heard so many people say, oh, we've never gotten unemployment. So I was like, well, what was the situation that you applied for unemployment in the first place? Was it because you lost your job and then you yelled at somebody, or you yelled at somebody and then you got fired, or you didn't yell at somebody and you did get fired, or what was it? What was the scenario, right? And my scenario was quite clear. Life started lifing. We had a national and worldwide emergency, And I started creating these things before other people were actually wearing them. And I was like, I saved myself. I saved my own life by making these before they actually had them available, right? So that was like, this was, even though I lost my job over it, I still saved myself from disaster. I mean, things could have gone wrong if I had not made these. So this was, in my case, I made a whole bunch. Quick solution to the epidemic that we had, but also how I lost my position in the music school, which is okay. As I said, I got the unemployment. I then, thank goodness, I had all this equipment from another job in the music industry, also as a music teacher. So that was, I think that was like the most important part, is that by losing the job, I was able to build, and I've never done this before, like until I had lost the position, right? So social media was sort of like a new thing for me. I had other jobs before. It was never something I was ever thinking about doing because I was in the office space. I was either teaching people in public or in person, doing performances, getting stages sorted out, doing the sound engineering for stage performances. And yeah, it was just it was just nothing. I just didn't think twice about it. I mean, to lose your job in the job that you actually know how to do was just like, whoa, that's like bizarre. Just because I didn't know what they were doing or make stuff, right? If they hired me to do soundproofing, I would have done it. But the school didn't say, listen, we need new soundproofing. I'm like, I make this stuff. I made this. This is what I studied how to do. I also studied this, but I also studied at university how to build things, right? I don't know if in music schools they actually teach people how to use tools, but I learned how to use tools for the arts because that's what I basically, part of what I did. I sort of like did a double degree in one. Ended up working in the music even though I got the art degree. It's just like, whoa. But that's how my life rolled out, right? So that's like the whole thing. Yeah, so as you can see, this sound is a bit of a disaster. This is the disaster. The other side is not a disaster, but the comparison, you can hear the difference. I can. Okay, I can hear the difference. Maybe I work on a little bit, but I think my biggest discussion was to talk about, everybody gets all like ruffled on social media, right? They want to start a fight and they want to argue and they want to because they think that this is like the way the world works. But in my mind, I'm like, I taught people of younger people, and I also know that the younger people don't always know. And thank goodness I had some great students. I didn't have people like doing crazy things. So I was very lucky to have situations where I had some really cool kids that I was teaching, but I was also teaching them morals of life. So I feel now that I'm working online, right? This is my office space now, which I personally think is cooler than the office space, the classroom that I was teaching in, which happened to be next to a bathroom. I was like, why did you put me next to a bathroom? I was like, that is like the ultimate, like, what is this going on here? Anyway, so I feel as if sometimes things that happen in life are sometimes a blessing. It could be a curse, but also a blessing in disguise. So that's my personal intake on that. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and just ask away. Do you want to know about music? Do you want to know about I know everybody does this AI stuff. I'm like a naturalist. I like to use AI and digital art for the arts because I also studied the arts, but I think music has to feel more humanized. So I keep to the basics of basics when it comes down to music. I feel as if learning it from ground zero and scratch is like the only way to really understand that system, right? So that's where I am right now. So if you're interested to hear a better quality video, if you go to the second video, the landscape, which is it's on my page, but it's on like the other side, you can hear the difference. It's a good comparison video. You could hear the quality of this one, which I'm very disappointed about. And then you have this one, which is just a very classic Rhodes lavalier. This is the Rhodes lavalier, and because it's not pinching the sound. So Bluetooth does not work with music. I've established that. We now know, but I still need a mic for this side anyway. Right. Welcome in, folks. So I'm busy talking about, job losses and how people react and respond on social media. It's like two different worlds. Like if people went in with this crazy, almost destructive behavior going into an office space, almost instantly you will lose the job in 5 seconds. And honestly, to be honest, you make more money in an office space than you probably would on social media. So for me, it's been very hard because I'm so used to making like money that not having the income that I was generating and starting to build my own business is a lot harder. Like it's not easy. Once you've been in the workforce, you just know like where everything fits, right? So that's the whole thing. So that's my little chit chat. I know some people might not be from the States, so I also know that unemployment might not necessarily be like a discussion that people from overseas might necessarily. I know in South Africa they don't have unemployment. I don't remember being in South Africa and then walking out of a job and trying to look around for unemployment. I would have to get a job instantly. That was just how South Africa works. You just need to keep working, right? That's what most countries kind of like require you to do. Here in the States, they have a little bit of a government holds a little bit of a comfort space for people who lose jobs in a displaced situation. So that's what I was basically talking about, is that the United States works a little bit differently than overseas when it comes down to workforces, because I'd worked in 3 other countries. 3? The States, South Africa, Japan, 3 countries. I've worked in 3 countries and lived in 5 countries, so that's basically my background. But yes, now this mic, somebody did mention the mic. I don't recommend this mic. I bought it. I paid a good pretty penny for it. It's a very well designed mic, but I don't know. I think that I'll keep using it because now I've spent money on it, but I think for music purposes you want to stick to something like this, which is the lavalier. It's a very, very tiny mic, but the quality is so precise. I'm not putting it on this phone because this phone will not allow me to use this mic, but my iPad, which is the other one that I'm using, is allowing me to use it. So I'm keeping the better quality one for my landscape videos. So that's what that's what it is. If you do have any questions, I can't look at my stuff right now. I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to think what are the areas. So I have the music, I have the art, I have the fashion. Oh, that's what it is. I separated the fashion and the art. So I have music, art, fashion, and business on my main page. So if you want to learn different, and I'm not getting paid, on YouTube. This is just because I lost my job. I feel as if I need to like participate in something that keeps me actively working within whatever it is that I was doing before. It's going to build up, but I don't think it's an instant thing. I think YouTube is a gradual progression, because I don't think, to be honest with you, I know the short feed and the vertical feed are great to get the crowd in, but that's not where the real money comes. This is just social. The other side, which is the landscape, that's where the money comes. So if you are ever thinking about doing YouTube, I recommend branching out. Don't just focus on one version, okay? Because I don't think enough people talk about it, but the one way of doing things is not always the right way of doing things. Sometimes it's important to kind of diversify in your agenda on, not agenda, but your format on this platform. It doesn't work like Facebook. It doesn't work like Instagram. It doesn't work like TikTok. This is a completely different, like, mechanical engine. Okay, this car works differently than yeah. This is an older, more refined place. This is like, this was built with Gen Xers, like my generation. I am not a young person, okay? This is just because I like fluffy things. Doesn't mean, and I taught younger people, but doesn't mean that I'm 25 or 26 or 30. I'm actually 46. I always like to remind people I am 46. I am not afraid to say how old I am. I don't have an issue with saying how old I am. Okay, so that's, I think my biggest takeaway on this was that, yeah, it's very hard to see what's happening on social media and not bring up the concerns. I know when I lived in different countries, you wouldn't see people acting up on social media as you would overseas. Like, here is a different story. Like, overseas, everybody seems a lot more calm and relaxed. But America, they like to cause a little bit of a faffles. Okay. I might do a little bit of music now. If you want to, and you want to look at the music, you can zoom in and out of your phone so you can see a close-up of the situation. Okay, so I might go back in and edit this now since I have it out. This one section, where was it? So yeah, it's a very important, I think it's just important to remember that, and young people are hiring the older people now, right? At least in my time, because I like to just have my own business. I've started my own business, and I feel as if I think I have enough skills to understand how to put things together. So I'm basically here helping people figure the things out as much as I am when I'm building up this vision too. Yeah. No, I do not get paid on YouTube. This is not my paying platform. I want to eventually, but this is not the platform I get paid on. I actually get paid on Poshmark, if you know, like, e-commerce. E-commerce was my lifesaver. I lost my job the day after I was struggling to figure out what to do instantly. So the e-commerce was the right away instant money. You don't have to have a resume and hand over to an app. Here's my resume. This is what I can do. You just need to prove to that app that you're able to work hard and be diligent and consistent. It is sort of like a job interview. They want to see where you can push your, like how good you are with marketing. And I've kept up my five-star standing position as Poshmark ambassador for maybe 5 years now. So I think I know what I'm doing on Poshmark. I mean, I'm not crazy, like, good. I don't make thousands of dollars on there. I don't make a lot of money, but I make enough to actually feel confident that if I wasn't with my injured body, which is what it is, that's why I wear this, is my body is not the way it used to be. It's once you have an injury, the injury takes over how your body responds on a regular day situation, right? Your body, you can't, like, I can't run anymore. I can't kneel anymore. There are things that I'm not able to do. So unfortunately, there's certain parts of your body that are going to change when things like that happen, right? Yeah. Okay. So I've spoken about that. So if you are in a panic and you're looking for an immediate way of generating money, I don't necessarily think like start the YouTube channel or start TikTok if you want to. I really don't think TikTok is like the go-to, but that's just my opinion. I've already done it. I made a little bit of money. I wasn't like, it was just not my thing. I think YouTube, because it's more educational for me, is the approach that I like to take. That's just my onset of how everything goes, right? So that's basically it. Yeah, so e-commerce, if you're looking for a job, I know people do Uber. This is right away. Whenever you're trying to like figure out what to do instantly, there are quick ways to generate money before you go into the job space, right? That takes a little bit of time. So sometimes people want instant money. So the instant money doesn't, like, this takes time. YouTube is not instant. It's not like, I'm not trying to be like a viral sensation on YouTube. I think there are a lot of people that think that everybody wants to do viral sensational stuff. I have a different path on YouTube than I think some people probably would like to hear, is that it's not an easy road. I'm not young anymore, so that's also another thing, and I'm also a little bit broken, so my body doesn't look the way it used to. I remember when I was younger, I made a lot of money doing all sorts of cool things, even working in the embassy. So yeah, I think when you are young, you have the capabilities of generating good money. It's just sometimes people do it stupidly. So be wise at a young age. That's my personal take on this whole thing. Okay. Wisdom is key at all ages, at all ages. I did my master's in arts, okay, if that helps. So this wouldn't have been a panic attack if they looked at my resume and said, oh, she makes stuff. Yeah, I do make stuff. That's what I studied for, right? I studied to do that. Anyway, so they didn't understand. It's okay. I've already vented. And I think the reason why I get at it is because the guy he's young. He's like half my age, right? So, anyway. It's called Living and Learning. Okay. So this is something I did produce. That's why I'm playing it, is that on YouTube, you want to be very careful. If you're going to do music or use music, you want to make sure the music is owned by you, because there could be things like flags. I have not gotten a flag on here. I hope that is like not going to happen ever. As long as you keep the being responsible, like responsibilities do apply on other platforms. You can do silly, crazy things, but be warned, there are repercussions. That is just obviously how it works in every situation, right? Repercussions are real. Okay. Let's see what I can do here. Where is this part of it? I think it was here, right? Where did that go? Oh, where? Okay, so let's change this. Put it back to dance, okay? This has been bothering me, so I'm just editing this quickly. If you'd like to see, you're welcome to zoom in and zoom out. Ooh, sorry, let's move this so you guys, if anybody can see this. Okay. Let's do experimental. Is there an experimental edge? Experimental. Okay, wait, hold on. Delayed, deep. Change pitch now. Robot now. Let's do delayed. Okay, let's see if that makes a difference. Let's just see. Oh, crud. I did the whole thing. Oops. Okay, let's see. Okay, I guess we can work with that. Okay, so this is what I was teaching. Okay, this is not like an uneducated guess. This is stuff that I was actually teaching. And my channel actually does give you the groundings if you're wanting to learn music production at on the main section of the page, okay? Oh, it's coming up, okay. That's better. Okay, so all of these are like layers. I'll just talk through this quickly since I'm honest. Well, I think that's better. Okay, so it was just a brief talk about the unemployment. Now, when you apply or sign up for unemployment, obviously instructions matter. So it's important to, so the sound is better here. If you're here, welcome in on the other side. The quality is better. So I'm also testing out the two mics. I do think that this side is better than that when it comes down to the sound. Okay, so, yeah, that sounds a bit, that sounds a bit better. So I was just modifying the vocal parts. I don't know what other parts I will be singing, but maybe later. Okay, so that's my thing is when you lose a job, don't yell at the boss. Don't yell at the boss. Just let the boss say what he has to say, or say what she has to say, and just let it go through the process, right? Let it go through the process. Because in the end, if you stay calm, in the United States, things will work out. It's very, very interesting how it's falling into place in this situation. Do I need to add more to this? I don't know. It seems very busy. And all these instruments were done on the keyboard. I'll be doing more tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm going to focus on music production. Right. And then if you are interested, you can go through all my lives. And my lives basically, not all, well, most of the lives I've done were actually for music production. So all this stuff that you're hearing me produce on here keeps me safe because it's like my own production, right? So that's part of business, is you want to make sure that you're keeping the coast clear just in case you want to eventually get monetized on platforms. I've been monetized on a few. Well, monetized on Facebook, I stopped using it. I was like sort of over it. And I find that this is the more responsible platform to be on, especially if you're like a little bit more mature and you've like done business in the past or you've worked in offices. This is more like the office space. I feel like YouTube is definitely more office space. Okay. If you want to hear a better quality, you can go to the same live. It's just a landscape. Okay, so that's basically the difference. Okay, and then I've been producing this for a while. Okay, I was thinking of starting a new one tomorrow, and that is my voice. Okay, that is my voice. Okay. Okay, so today was just a brief chat. I think what I am going to do is, if there is an interest in people who need to learn more about unemployment and all the things that go into keeping everything together, I mean, I think the more proof that you have for office spaces, the better you are if you have to take it in and basically fight for your own rights to prove that you are like the rights in the rights. But the first step comes with knowing that, as I would say, staying calm as a cucumber would be like the ideal perspective, is if you could stay calm in an environment and not panic about like being yelled at or told what to do. That is just part of the process. You're in an environment that the person obviously hired you, so you need to kind of like stay calm by standing your ground, which is important. Okay, so that's my lesson to the youth. I think if you are in the process of looking for a job and you just graduated, when you apply for a job, it's exciting to get the job, but you also want to make sure that if something were to happen in an environment where you lose a job, you want to make sure that your etiquette, your behavior is not going to disable you, as you would say, disable you from making money that you could get from unemployment benefits. You know what I mean? In the States, they have unemployment benefits. That's what it is. Oops. Oh. Yeah, so I just think that it's important to be aware that social media is not real life, and people need to treat people nicer. And once you have those skills, you will succeed in life on a larger scale, because that's like the whole point, right? Okay. Okay, so let's see. Give me a second. I think I need to feed Dior. I have been out of touch with my Poshmark, so I might just, since I need to use my phone for that, there's no way I can do this without it. So I just wanted to have people know that it is important. Now, I don't know the age. Well, I mean, I know more or less the ages, and I know that the United States is going through a big frictional situation that's happening right now. So, if anybody's needing help with unemployment and questions on how that works, I did work in government. I worked in the visa department many, many, many years ago. So, I know the internal workings of how that works as a system. I mean, I'm not in the environment anymore, but that is something that I can definitely help people through because I do understand how it works. That's basically it, right? So, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to save this and I'm going to start a new one tomorrow. But that needed to be adjusted. I think it sounds better. Yeah. Okay, folks, we're gonna call it a day. But I think a little bit of information on the unemployment, whether or not you were here to listen to that, that's great. If you listened to part of it, it wasn't supposed to be a long discussion. It's just more on what I noticed when it came down to watching people's reactions on the shorts. One short showed people this lady reacting very abruptly and telling the boss not to do, like, this is not fair and all this stuff. You cannot get unemployment that way. You have to allow them to feel like they have a say, and you need to know that what you did was innocent. Like, I did something that was a lifesaver, and I got fired for making something that potentially saved my life when I was in hospital. And before everything else was around, I was helping other people stay protected as well. So that's how it goes. Sometimes life is unfair. So the good people sometimes lose in the end, right? That's just sometimes I feel like I'm always a little too nice. So the too nice sometimes doesn't work, but at the same time, when it comes down to office antics and trying to save yourself the stress of not having income, you need to make sure that you follow the rules, because the rule following might actually fall in your favor in the end, because that is just how it works in government. I've worked in government, I think, like a whole bunch, from 2000, and it's on my resume. No, not 2000, from 1998 to all the way down to 2002. I was working in government jobs. That was before I was doing any other stuff. I did other art stuff later on. I was studying at the time of working in government in the embassy for summer hire. And that's basically it. Okay, so I think that sounds pretty good. I'm going to quit Logic Pro X. So that's my little chit chat for today. I'll be back on tomorrow, but I think I'll be doing a little bit more of a casual thing, like getting back into the music. And I have to say, I do like working on my own. I don't have to feel obligated to taking instructions from people who really don't understand, that I'm quite easily and able to manage my own things. So that is just my way. Okay, folks, have a good one.